This is our visit to points of interest at the Palace of Versailles. We left Paris by train about 8 a.m. as we were told that it would be best to be at the palace when it opened. We made it to Versailles about 9:30 and had to work our way through a long line and entered the palace about 10:30 a.m. In addition to the palace, we will see the Grand Trianon, the Petit Trianon, and the Queen's Hamlet. This is a satellite view of the palace and the approach to the palace. Versailles was the seat of political power in the Kingdom of France from 1682, when King Louis XIV moved the royal court a short distance from Paris. The next few photos are approaching the palace. Conceived by Louis XIV to glorify the French monarchy, the palace became the most important architectural project of his reign and is considered one of the masterpieces of French classical architecture. It exerted major influence across Europe in the 18th and 19th centuries in architecture and the decorative arts. When we toured the Peterhof in St. Petersburg, Russia, we learned that Peter the Great visited there and patterned Peterhof to be like Versailles. This is the Hall of Mirrors. The Grand Gallery is located on the first floor in the central body and facing west towards the palace gardens. There are 17 mirrored arches and 17 windows. The Hall of Mirrors, the most famous room in the palace, was built to replace a large terrace which opened onto the garden. The terrace originally stood between the king's apartment to the north and the queen's apartment to the south, but was awkward and above all exposed to bad weather. And it was not long before the decision was made to demolish it and to replace the terrace with a large gallery. Work started in 1678 and ended in 1684. I do have a photo, but unfortunately the bottom 6 feet is covered by tourists. The Hall of Mirrors has been the scene of events of great historic significance, including the proclamation of the German Empire and the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. This and the next few photos were taken of the interior of the palace. One interesting point to remember is that the names and purposes of rooms at Versailles and the Grand Trianon were not permanent. As kings, queens, emperors, and later presidents occupied these palaces, rooms were often remodeled and given new functions. A chamber that served as a bedroom for one resident might later become an office, sitting room, or reception room for another. Because of these changing uses, you may find the same room identified by different names in guidebooks, museum signs, or historical references. All of them can be correct. They simply reflect different periods in the palace's long history. The palace covers about 680,000 square feet and contains roughly 2,300 rooms. In this photo, the flooring is being restored. So here and on the next slide, you can see the construction of the flooring. This is the king's bedchamber. The king's bedchamber and the queen's bedchamber were separated by the Hall of Mirrors of about 240 feet in length. This is the queen's bedchamber. The queen's apartments and the king's apartments were laid out on the same design, each suite having 7 rooms. Both suites had ceilings painted with scenes from mythology. The king's ceilings featured male figures and the queen's featured female figures. We are now going out to the gardens. The park of the Palace of Versailles covers 2,014 acres today, compared with almost 20,000 acres before the French Revolution. Of this area, 230 acres are formal gardens. In the gardens, you will see a lot of water. Versailles sits on relatively high ground and did not have enough natural water to supply Louis XIV's ambitions. Louis XIV kept adding more and more fountains until the available water supply was nowhere near sufficient. There simply wasn't enough water nearby. So the question, where did all of the water come from? The most famous solution was the Machine de Marly, built beginning in 1681. This remarkable machine stood on the Seine River about 10 miles from Versailles. It was powered entirely by the river itself. 14 enormous water wheels turned continuously. They operated more than 250 pumps. The pumps lifted water over 500 feet uphill in several stages. The water then flowed into reservoirs above Versailles. From those reservoirs, gravity supplied the fountains. It was one of the greatest hydraulic engineering projects of the 17th century. The rectangular waterway you see there in the distance is man-made. We actually saw people canoeing on it, as you can see some spots there on the water from the distance. This fountain had no water in it on the day we were there. In the day of Louis XIV, all of the fountains could not operate at once. When he walked through the gardens, servants ran ahead, opening the fountains he was about to see and closed those he had already passed by. So visitors believed every fountain was operating continuously, when in reality they were carefully staged because there wasn't enough water for everything simultaneously. Today, Versailles contains well over 300 sculptures throughout the gardens and groves. The statues of Versailles were more than beautiful decorations. Together they formed a vast outdoor story celebrating King Louis XIV. Greek and Roman gods filled the gardens, especially Apollo. the sun god whom Louis adopted as his personal symbol. Visitors walking through the grounds continually encountered messages about order, beauty, justice, and the power of the monarchy. The sculpture in the foreground is Apollo driving the chariot of the sun. Every morning he was believed to rise from the Eastern Ocean in a chariot pulled by 4 magnificent horses, bringing daylight to the world. Louis XIV called himself the Sun King. Originally, the entire group was richly gilded so that when sunlight struck it, Apollo literally seemed to shine. When I took this photograph in May 2015, the sculpture had already stood there for nearly 345 years. It has since undergone a major restoration in which the enormous lead figures were removed, conserved, re-gilded where appropriate, and returned to the fountain. Versailles is certainly among the most beautiful of palaces. We are now on to the Grand Trianon. The word Trianon comes from a small medieval village called Trianon that existed long before Versailles became a royal palace. In the 1660s, King Louis XIV wanted to expand the grounds of Versailles. The little village stood on land he desired. Rather than simply annexing it, Louis XIV purchased the village, including its homes, fields, and church. The residents were compensated and relocated, and the village disappeared. The name, however, lived on. Louis XIV liked the sound of it and chose to preserve the memory of the old village by naming the new royal retreat Trianon. This is the courtyard entrance to the Grand Trianon. Notice that you can pass through the structure ahead and go directly into the garden area, or in that structure you can turn left or right to go through the various rooms. This is a passageway at the Grand Trianon between 2 of the major parts of the palace. You can see on the right that it's open out to a reception area and modern day parking. Left, it's open also out to the beautiful gardens. On the right, this is the Empress's bedroom. This is the Empress's bedchamber. And this is the Emperor's bedchamber. This is the gallery with 24 paintings that provide insight into how the groves and gardens of Versailles looked in 1688 during the reign of Louis XIV. The Grand Trianon was built at the request of King Louis XIV as a retreat for himself and as a place where he and invited guests could take light meals away from the strict etiquette of the court. This view is from the garden looking back at the building. The center you see there is the peristyle where we viewed the pass-through. This is the garden room just next to the gallery. This room was Napoleon's planning center. This quiet room at the Grand Trianon was not simply an office. It was Napoleon's planning center. Surrounded by maps of Europe, he could visualize entire campaigns before a single soldier marched. The original woodwork still reflects the age of Louis XIV, while the room's purpose reflects the military genius of Napoleon. We did a lot of walking, and at this point there was much more walking to do. We are now headed for the Petit Trianon, which includes the French Pavilion and the Temple of Love. The French Pavilion, built in 1750 for Louis XV and Madame de Pompadour in the French garden of the Petit Trianon, in the park of the Palace of Versailles. The pavilion is called French because of its location in the center of the French garden. This is the French Pavilion from above. Very attractive little building with an interior shot there and a floor plan. This is the Petit Trianon, completed in 1768. It provided Louis XV and his mistress with the privacy which was lacking at the palace. Upon his accession to the throne in 1774, the 20-year-old Louis XVI gave the chateau and its surrounding park to his 19-year-old wife, Marie Antoinette, for her exclusive use. The building was designed to require as little interaction between guests and the servants as possible. To that end, the table in the dining room was conceived to be mobile, mechanically lowered and raised through the floorboards so that the servants below could set it while remaining unseen. These tables were never built as Louis XV found them too expensive. This is the Temple of Love. This elegant Temple of Love was built in 1778 for Marie Antoinette as part of her new English garden. From the windows of the Petit Trianon, she could look directly across the lake to this graceful little monument. The temple was designed by Richard Meek, Marie Antoinette's favorite architect. Like so many closely associated with the royal court, he was caught up in the French Revolution and was guillotined in 1794, only 16 years after completing this peaceful retreat. We are now entering the Queen's Hamlet. In 1783, Queen Marie Antoinette decided to extend the northern part of the Trianon Gardens. She commissioned the architect Richard Meek to build the hamlet, a little village set around a lake. It was composed of 10 small buildings with a rustic appearance. In spite of its idyllic appearance, the hamlet was a real farm, fully managed by a farmer appointed by the Queen, with its vineyards, fields, orchards, and vegetable gardens producing fruit and vegetables consumed by the royal table. During the Revolution, the place was left abandoned. The buildings had only ever been short-term constructions, and they soon deteriorated. In 1810, Napoleon I began work to restore the hamlet. The barn and the working dairy were demolished as they were in an advanced state of disrepair, while the other 8 buildings were restored to their former state. Once the hamlet had been restored, Napoleon gave it to his second wife, the young Empress Marie Louise of Austria. This gift was a very symbolic one, as Marie Louise was herself the great niece of Marie Antoinette. The Queen's house and billiard room is situated in the middle of the hamlet, and it is the largest and most important building. Its construction is innovative. Two rustic buildings are connected by a covered gallery that is curved in a half-moon shape. The spiral staircase offers access to the second floor on one end of the house. These buildings included the Queen's private chambers as well as her salons and her parlors. The boudoir is the smallest structure, and it was nicknamed the Little House of the Queen. Marie Antoinette retired here by herself or else with one or two of her friends. The boudoir was altered slightly during the Second Empire, but its small construction has remained to this day. The mill, built and fitted from 1783 to 1788, was never used for grinding grain. The wheel is driven by a stream derived from the Grand Lake and is only a decorative element. No mechanism or wheel were installed in the factory. The interior decoration was simple and neat. This structure is one of the most picturesque of the hamlet. Each facade of the building is decorated slightly differently. This mill also served as a laundry. This is the Marlborough Tower. This circular tower on the shores of the lake is mainly decorative. It was originally called the Fishery Tower. It was created after a popular lullaby from the era. The basement is used for storage, but the top part of the tower has a fairy tale-esque design. The warming room is recessed at the rear of the Queen's house. It has a stone interior and included a large kitchen, a bakery, a fireplace, and a pantry. Also linen and silverware. It was used to prepare the dishes for dinners given by the Queen in the house or mill. There were originally two dairies, one in which the dairy products were made and one in which the Queen tasted them. The preparation dairy was destroyed during Napoleon's time. Each were designed with sanitation in mind. The rooms are light-colored marble, which gives the impression of cleanliness. The Queen's hamlet included not just cottages, but a fully functioning farm. Milk from the cows was processed in a working dairy, then brought to a second building called the laiterie, where Marie Antoinette and her guests could enjoy fresh cream, butter, and cheeses in an elegantly decorated tasting room. Its rustic exterior concealed a surprisingly refined interior. One interesting point that many visitors miss is that this arrangement was not unique. At the end of the 17th century, tasting dairies became fashionable among European royalty and the aristocracy. Louis XVI was so taken with the idea that he later built an even more elaborate dairy for Marie Antoinette at Rambouillet, hoping to entice her to visit that estate more often. The dovecote and the guardhouse. The dovecote and pigeon coops were near the lake. Roosters and hens of various species were brought from the west of France and settled in the aviary in 1785 for Marie Antoinette's use. The guardhouse, this building, is situated on the edge of the field near the woods. Its original occupant was the Swiss guard, who lived there with his family. Because of the prominence of the occupants of the hamlet, the guard was necessary for Marie Antoinette's security. The barn also served as a ballroom. It was badly damaged during the French Revolution and destroyed during Napoleon's regime. All that remains is the foundation, as you see here. The Queen was accused by many of being frivolous. She found herself in the eyes of French people to be merely amusing herself. And of course, subsequently, she was beheaded by the guillotine. It was a wonderful day at Versailles, a long day, back to Paris, and then we would be on our way to Reutlingen, Germany. I hope you'll join us on another one of our adventures.